Welcome to the Brewtiful Game. As always, I am Blake here with Ferris.
Hola.
And Ron.
What's happening?
And on tonight's special episode of the Brewtiful Game, Liverpool leave it late, but move one step closer to winning the Premier League title just as the race for that Champions League place behind them starts to heat on up. And our 2-minute drill is back as we review all the rest of the Premier League action from Matchweek 33 and a little of Matchweek 34. Then we'll blow the halftime whistle as the sell your women's team to yourselves and might as well add 2 hotels to the same philosophy. Ron shares with us all the financial fair play financial news from his Chelsea Blues and yet another edition of Ron's FFP. Wait a minute. FFP Financial Corner. I like that you wrote it as Corber, like it was corn on the cob or something.
It was a quick change.
Finally, for the second half of the pod, it's a new segment. The cousin of the La Liga's Roundup. If you will, we call this the UEFA Liga's Roundup. We need a different sound effect for that. As the semifinals are all set and in all 3 of the UEFA Cup competiciones. But first, our beer. Gents, I'm going to get about as central Pennsylvania as I can get over here to English. I went to Lancaster Brewing, which I had not been to in many a day. I need to get back up with the head brewer there because he was at Brew Hub when I was down in Florida, but now he's
down
here.
Orlando,
As the head.
Lakeland area.
Lakeland, right? Yeah. He's now the head brewer at Lancaster Brewing, and Lancaster Brewing, for those of you who do not know it, blessed, as it says, with a fresh country air, pure water, and arguably the richest non-irrigated farmland in the world. Lancaster's a place where your handshake means something, and where genuine craftsmanship, artisan quality, and stubborn self-reliance remain part of everyday life. And they have been doing beer for 40 years. That doesn't even sound right.
Wow. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Let's see. By producing Lancaster's first commercially brewed beer after nearly 40 years, we are proud of the role Lancaster Brewing Company's played in the renaissance of Lancaster's incredibly rich and colorful brewing history. Man, like their World War I led to the event. Here you go, Ron. Here's a bit of beer history for you. World War I led to the eventual shuttering of 14 thriving Lancaster breweries prior to Prohibition. Directed by the war effort to end the use of coal for brewing, Lancaster Brewery. That's the first I've ever heard of that. That's not something I was aware of. So directed by the war effort to end the use of coal for brewing, Lancaster's breweries were forced to stop brewing legally, it should be noted, in November of 1918, well before the 18th Amendment took effect in January of 1919. During Prohibition, brewing continued secretly under the noses of local public officials. Many paid to look away. By 1930, federal agents began to crack down, forcing brewing underground literally at the corner of West King and Pine Streets. In 1932, a city worker discovered a hose in the sewer that ran downhill from Riker Brewery to our warehouse on Water Street, just down the road from here in Lancaster, where it supplied a secret keg filling operation. That is awesome.
That's hilarious.
And screw a ghost tour. I want to go do that. Like, that sounds awesome.
That's cool.
When Prohibition finally died in 1933, Lancaster County breweries resumed legitimate operations, but one by one bowed to economic pressures and competition from newer automated breweries in the Midwest. Lancaster's last commercially produced beer was brewed in July of 1956, commencing a 39-year disruption of Lancaster's celebrated brewing tradition. That's wild. So there's your 40 years. It was a gap. So they never stopped brewing because they were doing it illegally. But I'd never heard that about World War I. I
was like, how does 40 years equate to World War I? Like, my math's not particularly great, but I don't think that's only 40 years ago.
So the old historic Edward McGovern Tobacco Building is where they put the brewery and where they still operate. But which is a cool place. Like, if you ever come visit Ferris, it's worth going just because the building's old and cool. But of all the breweries we've done, I've never heard in the histories it talked about that coal was directed to not be used for brewery and banned. Although that was November. Well, they stopped brewing legally in November 1918, but the 18th Amendment took effect January 1919. Maybe that's why you don't hear a lot about it. Is it quickly Prohibition followed? But that's cool. And I am having a very Pennsylvania thing. Ferris, I'd like to know if you've ever had what we like to call a shoe fly pie around these parts.
Can't say that I have.
Well, my friend, I will let you, when you come up here for a visit, I'll make sure you try that granular, gritty, sugared pie. I can't do it, but I love the smell. It smells like it should taste good, but it's a texture thing. It's a very chewy. It's like molasses.
It's like
Yes,
molassesy and blackberry.
but the
Oh, you're
but,
selling me on it so
but
good.
the
there, James.
molasses are so thick that literally you feel the granules of the sugar in it. So this is their shoe fly pie porter ale with the molasses and vanilla. Bringing to mind the flavor of homemade Pennsylvania Dutch shoe fly pie, we brewed our porter with pure Lancaster County molasses and a colorful array of tasty malts. We then add pure vanilla bean for a flavor profile that matches both the smooth and unique complexity of a shoe fly pie. Its alcohol by volume is 6.2%. I have a feeling I'm going to love this, even though I don't like shoe fly pie, because the flavor of shoe fly pie should go great in a porter. That is
sounds as
that is my theory. And Lancaster Brewing has a very specific kind of art style, and I picked up a mix and match 6-pack when I went, so I'll have some more to go. Including,
the question is it wet bottom shoe fly pie?
Oh, Ferris, there you go. There's the difference.
What in the
wet bottom
pot
shoe
of neck
fly
bone
pie.
does that mean?
Yeah, wet bottom shoe fly pie makes the rockin' world go round. Yeah, it sounds like what it says. Shoe fly pie, except it's all wet and soggy at the bottom because it doesn't.
Ugh.
Oh,
Yep.
yes.
Gross.
And it's called. It's not called moist shoe fly pie. That could be worse, shoe fly pie, but it's wet bottom, which I think sounds just infinitely worse than moist.
Sure does there, Blake. Sure does.
But I got a feeling though I got this porter. My wife's like, "You do not like shoe fly pie." I said, "No, but those flavors sound right in a porter." So we'll see what happens.
If it's anything like actual shoe fly pie, you won't be able to actually drink the molasses.
But that's the
They'll
thing. But it smells good, shoe fly pie. It smells like something that should be good, and then it's just too. Yeah. I mean, Ferris, you'll have to try it. You know what you have to try when you're here, Ferris? A whoopie pie from Intercourse, Pennsylvania.
Those are good.
Yeah, I know, but still,
Those are easy.
like
with a dry top opposed to a soggy bottom.
Or the other Pennsylvania Dutch favorite, the Fasnacht.
the Fasnacht donuts. Fasnacht donuts. We just had those because it was Fat Tuesday. They make all the stuff with lard, and it's these donuts that, like, if they have to be 4,000 calories in one donut, they are the thickest.
Ferris, that stuff is so bad that when you're done eating just one of those, you could literally remove all of the veins and arteries from your body, and they would stand on their own.
Can't wait. A soggy bottom and a vein pulling donut.
Well, I have faith that the shoe fly pie. That's hard to say. The shoe fly pie ingredients will be
Fly pie porter.
quite good porter. What you got there, Ron?
Oh, I went to a great Seattle brewing company that both Ferris and I actually went to. They've come out, or I should say have gone to. They came out with a couple of new kind of multi-packs, and so had to snag the Elysian Hazy 96.
Ooh.
Elysian
okay.
from Seattle. They opened their doors in 1996 when bold art and music were in the heyday, if you will, defining Seattle culture. Over the past 25 years, they've carried the same spirit, the way in the way they brew their beer, shaking up with classic styles, using unusual ingredients, and learning by experimentation. They push the creative beyond the brews. Each beer label is made by their in-house team who pull inspiration from design, photography, clay, paint, needlepoint, and even the occasional tattoo. So, gentlemen,
fun.
I snagged the Hazy 96. Looks like that.
Cool.
Super cool brewery. They always have such fun, interesting can art and interesting flavors. 6.1 on the old ABVs, 40 IBUs. It's a hazy IPA. It pours a golden hazy color, easy drinking, lightly sweet and bitter with a ton of tropical aroma, dominated by mango, papaya, and citrus. The malts are pale, white wheat, rolled oats, and Here's a new term for us: acidulated malt.
Acidulated.
Yep,
That's a new one.
hops, Citra, and Idaho 7. I'm excited to try this.
Nice. I'm boring. I have 2 beers we've had on the pod before, and I've probably had a bunch. But now, when Blake said porter, I'm like, do I go with the porter or do I just stick with what I had? So I think I'm just stick with what I have. But this is boring. We've had it on the pod before from Tampa Bay Brewing, Reef Donkey APA, American Pale Ale. Boring because I literally walked to the door about an hour ago before we started potting, and this is what I had in the fridge because Publix had it on like their red tagged shelf over on like the really like that it's very lonely single island shelf that has stuff that either were like dented boxes or whatnot, and the beer was there. Nothing seemed bad with the cans. It was a 4-pack, typical APA, was canned back in December, so maybe a little bit whatever, but $8.59 sold. So
Reef Donkey was an early episode.
No,
Yeah.
very,
Beer
very
for the
early.
first time.
No,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. TBBC beer. TBBC dot beer. Right when you go to their site and you go to beers, and their core brand is the first one up. So it's an award-winning dry hop American Pale Ale, which is created to be the perfect Florida lifestyle beer for any and all outdoor activities with a lemon lime aroma, tropical flavor, and light malty tones. This APA is completely sensible. 5.5%, 36 IBUs, availability year-round, Moteca, Equinaut, and Citra hops. One of my favorite APAs, but rather than have a nice long explanation of what the beer is, I do have a fun story. Went to the Pride game on Saturday. We did learn that Ron's child Max isn't a fan of sitting on Uncle Giraffe's shoulders thus far.
That's high. That's high up there.
It's high, yeah. So I brought him down, asked him if he had a nosebleed. He didn't quite yet. But after the match, it stopped because I don't know if you guys know this, but Broken Strings is back open.
Oh, so how did that work?
So Broken Strings, I'm glad you asked, Ron. So Broken Strings Brewery closed down a few months back. A brewery that's been here for several years, essentially ever since Orlando City got into town down there. So unfortunately had to close. A few weeks back, I ran into a gentleman that we recognize each other from my time out in Apopka because he is one of the CFOs and owners of 3 Odd Guys Brewing, and his name's Tron Bugs. Awesome dude. We just kind of like looked at each other and like, I've seen you, you've seen me. Wait, how do we know each other? And chatting with him, and he said, keep an eye out because this might be back open. Well, 3 Odd Guys and Trod did a kind of what Ivanhoe Park did with Deadwards, and bought that space out, bought the brewing equipment out, and have reopened Strings. They opened up last week, and their grand opening is this weekend. There's a Pride match on Friday and an Orlando City game on Saturday. It's a good time. So I've chatted with him a bunch. He's great. I'm going to try to do a pod there at some point. They don't have their own beers on tap yet. One of the very cool things, though, is he's like, you know what? I just want to give love to all of the brewing community. A lot of breweries have closed in the past year around here. People like 3 Odd Guys and Trod and Ivanhoe Park buying out these spaces to try to still keep the spirit of these places alive while kind of rejuvenating the space with their own kind of vibe and their own beers and stuff. Didn't have their own beers yet, but that'll be here in a few months. But they did have a whole bunch of beers from various breweries throughout the Orlando area, from Bowegan's to Tactical to 3 Odd Guys to Windermere Brewing to Toll Road. Just breweries from all around the area. So it was very, very cool.
That's cool. I'm glad that's awesome. It's because such a nice place so close to the stadium.
Heck yeah. And this is a really interesting story. So I'm sitting there and I was getting ready I was going to finish my beer, and then head out to meet some friends for food. And I look over and I see this blonde. Blondes are my thing, right? But anyways, besides the point.
The beer, right?
Yeah. The blonde beer
Yeah.
thing. Where was your head at there, Ron? Come on. Anyways.
I was not thinking about beer.
Okay. Well, shame on you.
My bad.
Anyways, that blonde was Carrie Lawrence. You might remember that name. Used to be an Orlando Pride defender. She has since retired. This year, she is looking, and I think she got hired with. And forgive me, I don't know the exact company, but she's working with the company there. She retired last year, and I'm like, is that Carrie Lawrence? Sure enough, she turns around. She has a jersey that has her name on the back. Oh, that's Carrie Lawrence. And I'm like, wait a second. Carrie Lawrence is dating Marta. There's no way that Marta shows up at this little old brewery that's been closed for the past 4 months that just reopened today. So Carrie and her family over there. And I kind of just am keeping an eye. I'm also on the TV. I'm watching Kansas City Current and whoever they play this weekend. So I was like, I'll finish my beer. And I see her on the phone. I hear her kind of like walking outside, and she's looking around like trying to give somebody directions on where to go. I'm like, no, Marta can't show up. So like, I'll have one more beer. Sure as my name's Glenn, she walks in to Broken Strings, one of the greatest soccer players of all time. After the game, to spend some time with her family-in-law and her fiance in this little old brewery about a block down the road from the stadium that you just would have never thought. So I stay. I go out. I get a burger from the truck. I come in and like try to sitting at the counter, and I said, my friend, not a whole lot of people can say that they had the goat at their bar on their first day of opening this thing up. And sat there, didn't want to like bother anything, but some for friends that I were with, I went to the bathroom and came out, and she had stood up to sign something for somebody or do something. So they kind of took their opportunity to take a photo. And if you've never met her, she is phenomenal at her time. She is just one of the coolest people to meet. She's just so gracious. So I walked up to her, and I'm wearing an Orlando Pride kit that has her name on the back. And I said, I just want to do like a fun photo. And I said, I turned around and started to point at it. And she just starts laughing. She's like, oh, yeah. So I turn around, I'm just pointing at her name, and she's standing like, I mean, I'm a bit taller than her, but she's standing there, and she has a big smile on her face, and she just points to her name. And then I turn around, and I didn't even realize it. It was like a subconscious. I give her one of the smoothest, coolest daps that you could ever give somebody. Didn't even think about it. Turned around, took a normal photo with her, said thanks, get back to her family. I'm sitting there, and the friends that I was with, like, the one girl was like, man, I'm so nervous. I can't believe like I actually got a picture with her, and like I didn't know what to say. She goes, but damn, you were cool. And I was like, what? You gave Marta one of the smoothest, like fun, like bro daps ever. And it was like both of you did it so instinctively, and then just turned around and took a photo. And I was like, I did? I had to think back. I was like, I sure as hell did. And I was like, it's one of those things that you don't know where, like the night I was not having a good day. My mood was kind of crap. I was kind of even debating just going home and not seeing the game. But at the end of the night, I got home and I was like, I just met one of the best players in the world again for a second time. It couldn't have been cooler. Who cares about an autograph? Just get a fun memory, you know, with her and a photo with her. And I also got to meet one of her Brazilian teammates who also plays on the Pride, Rafa, who plays in defense, and she was great with her time and said what most people say to me, damn, you're tall, but she was great. So shout out to them, and shout out to Broken Strings Brewery. If you're in the area this weekend, they're doing the grand opening. So yeah, I just wanted to let everybody in on that story.
I flipping love
Good
that.
job.
Hey, to Marta, shall we then?
Absolutely.
To
Let's do it.
Ferris and his smooth daps. Smoothest daps around.
Cheers, gents.
Cilantro boys.
Cheers, my dudes. Ron, this thing, when you tip it, that is shoe fly pie when you smell it. But you know what? Molasses and vanilla, that all goes great with a porter. This is a great porter.
It does, but I cannot imagine that when that thing hits room temperature, it's going to be any good.
I'll let you know.
It's going to be like Robitussin.
No, man, that would be
But soggy bottom Robitussin.
it's
Dry
good.
top, soggy bottom.
It's good. It's definitely like it's a sipper by the fire kind of vibe.
This is quite a smooth, easy drinking hazy IPA. Like none of it peels you back. It's got a really great floral and citrus kind of taste to it. Quite a snazzy one from Elysian.
The old Reef Donkey never disappoints. Absolutely glorious, amazing pale ale. You know what I was thinking? One of these times, we've said it so many times on this pod, maybe for like the 300th, maybe that puts us around like a cold time of year or something. We actually need to pod around a fire and have a beer that is good for sitting around the fire.
Yeah, what we got to do though is like I gotta get us one of those like Zoom recorders that I can also just lay a mic next to the fire. So I can layer in the crackle
in the background
of the fire. Well, which I say we need to do that because like right now I don't know after I edit if people listening if this can be heard, but like Ron outside with the crickets in the background. It's like Ron's got family over, so he's outside sequestered to the porch instead of his studio, but like the crickets, I'm like, man, I hope that some of the settings don't
lightly come through,
remove it through because there's something so chill about listening to that as we're just sitting there having a beer and there's a little chirp in the background.
A little campfire pod would be quite incredible.
We've said it so many times over the 200 and what are we on 55 episodes, but we've never actually done it. We've had tons of beers. We just got to figure out the perfect beer to have out on the fire and just do a pod.
Well, that's my next purchase for the his.
And
it's a
gotta
fire
be
pit.
fall.
Love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's gotta be fall. You have like
a little chill
nice,
in there.
Robust porter.
I'm gonna have a cigar. You guys can have a cigar too if you want. But yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Shall we get to it?
So I'm like,
well,
no,
like to what? To like
I
go
like,
find a fire, beer, and cigar.
Yeah. I don't even want to talk soccer now. I just want to do that, please. That would be awesome.
I just want to wear a flannel and sit out by a fire.
That's a good smoky porter.
Or a shoe fly pie porter. Go good with that campfire.
Or I have a porter in the fridge, Tupac porter.
God, that's still my favorite name ever. God, so good. All right, on to the footy. The past few weeks have been quite good for Liverpool as megastar Mohamed Salah, don't know if you've heard of him, kids got Parmas, and Captain Virgil van Dijk both signed new contracts, extending their infamous tenures at Anfield. And while it's looking like Trent Alexander might be the odd man out in terms of signing a new contract, with speculation swirling of Real Madrid calling this summer, Trent Alexander-Arnold certainly didn't let it weigh on his mind on Sunday as he not only won it late for Liverpool as they moved one step closer to the Premier League title, but he also helped to condemn Leicester City in sealing their fate to absolute, utter relegation. Liverpool equals great this season. Leicester City equals piss poor this season.
It's the kindest way that I could say that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think saying they're piss poor is an insult to piss poor teams.
Yeah. Don't insult Michelob Ultra that way. Like, yeah, it's like this is it's it doesn't matter. To be honest, they're so bad. What does that even matter? Like, love the Foxes as I do. They need to do something and come back stronger. But really, the news to me in this is like, it just felt like, especially because they were rolling toward winning the league this year handily. I really thought Salah and maybe Dijk would be not retiring, but retiring out of Liverpool, and who knows going. I was kind of surprised at these signings, to be honest.
It's I don't know if it's surprising as much as it's like it just seemed to drag on, right? Seemed that Liverpool seemed to almost drag their feet. We don't know what was being said, how negotiations were going throughout the season, but earlier in the season, Salah came out and kind of hinted at something that things weren't, going well, not with the club or with the new manager or anything like that, but with how the negotiations were going. Liverpool fans have to be just elated. They keep their star man, they keep their captain, who's been one of the best defenders in not only the league, the world, since he signed for them from South Hampton several seasons back. And you go over to the Leicester side of things. They were almost doomed before day one, right? When Maresca jumped ship after getting them promoted to the other Blues a little bit further south in London, they were just almost dead man walking. Brought in Steve Cooper, did okay, and then brought in Ruud van Nistelrooy in November after Ruud van Nistelrooy with Manchester United as an intern beat Leicester by like an aggregate score of like 8-0 in their games. Like, oh, this guy can like smash us. We might as well bring him in. And he has not done very well. Liverpool are, 12 points ahead at this stage with a game in hand over Arsenal and Man City, who follow them up in second and third. And it's just a matter of time now for when they win. They're going to win. It's that I don't think there's any doubt about it. And this time, opposed to the last time a few seasons ago, they'll actually get to celebrate that with their fans in the area, because the world won't be shut down for the pandemic.
Do we know that they've got issues though? I don't know. Ron, forgive me if this is part of your financial. Were you going to do Chelsea, or were you going to touch on this at all?
For mostly Chelsea.
So, because with Leicester, so they had like the potential point deduction coming at them this season, possibly. But they avoided that because they exploited a loophole. So then what has happened is Premier League amended the handbook, and now moving forward, that loophole is closed. But they're not. But here's the problem. Leicester won and lost after losing. Under the new PSR rules, Premier League clubs are permitted to lose $105 million over a 3 rolling year period. However, and this is a report, but financial expert Stefan Borson exclusively told Football Insider the latest rule changes have confirmed the limit drops to $13 million a season when a club is relegated to Championship. So they still might. It's still very confusing. It starts to get into MLS ram tam jam money and like how this is all shaken out, but it's still quite a while. So Leicester, they lost $72 million last season, or hit, and after their turnover fell from $177 million in 22 to 23 to $105 million, but their losses dropped from $90 million to $19 million across the same period. So and now they just got relegated. So all these like changes after the Leicester twist of the loophole, it's just wild. I mean, we're still trying to figure this out. And Man City, I think, has been pushed out to 2029 before there's any decision that's going to be made there. But like, it's still just nuts.
I mean, they're not the worst team to go down right now. There has been 2 teams. Southampton's the worst team, but to only be 7 points ahead of them. 8. So here's a stat. Leicester City, for 33 games, they have a minus 46 goal difference on 18 points after 33 games.
Ugh.
That is not good. They've been scored on 73 times.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Mm-hmm. And then you go the team that they played, Liverpool, on 33 games as well. They scored 75 goals so far this season on people with a plus 44 goal difference, and are on 79 points. Talk about soggy bottom and dry top there. Whew.
Yeah.
Way to bring it back.
Yeah, the good recall. Yeah, that Southampton stats are just abysmal. But I mean, those bottom 3 clubs, Southampton 1-2, Leicester 1-4, Ipswich 1-4. Like,
I mean, Southampton only managed 11 points out of 33 matches.
And I think I wrote it somewhere in the headline. That 1 point that got them from 10 to 11 actually helped greatly in the overall scheme of the Premier League.
Ugh.
Just brutal. So it's so brutal that we're barely talking about like last year. We're like, man, West Ham, are they gonna? They kind of slipped, and West Ham sitting there going, "Thank God it's this season."
There is no relegation.
Do you know what I mean? Like they're like because
Well, there's 15 points separating 17 and 18.
right,
Yeah. I don't think Ipswich has been fully confirmed as going down yet, but
No,
but-
not yet.
they're
How are
like
they gonna
a
catch up?
sneeze and a cough away from going down.
yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah, we're West Ham kind of avoiding some of the conversation. I think it would have been otherwise, just because it ain't even close.
And Tottenham.
And Man United. Don't forget about us now down there. Come on.
Oh, I wasn't even gonna say anything, but I was
Don't say
thinking it. We were thinking it. Now, as for the Champions League race for the places below said Liverpool, Arsenal stayed firmly in second with a 4-0 win over Ipswich, but then a draw today. Sorry, I apologize if you got that elsewhere, Ferris, but then
You're good.
a frustrating one today. But oh wait, do I move on?
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead, brother.
Don't look now as Manchester City have moved up to third, 5 points behind the Gunners, as City have beaten Everton and Aston Villa over the course of 4 days. I mean, I really need Nottingham to come on back. Just slap that back down.
We'll see.
Nottingham Forest beat Tottenham 2-1, picking on the little guys, but they moved down to fourth with a game in hand, so that's handy. And the same goes for Newcastle, who are now up to fifth, but had their hot streak promptly stopped on Saturdays. They were thrashed 4-1 by Villa. How does Villa lose to Man City? And
I mean, it's you know, we lost 2-1. It was a late goal, 2 second half goals. They were up 1-0. You could see it, but man, they thrashed Newcastle, and Newcastle come off of two. But they beat Man United 4-1 or 5-1. Then they turned around and beat Palace 5-0. Like they had won a whole bunch of games before that, and then it was mainly the second half. I think it was 1-1 at half. Mainly the second half, and Villa just like shot out of a rocket and just
kept scoring.
Goals. Yeah,
they looked amazing. And speaking of Villa, they are in contention for Champions League once again, as they are in seventh, tied on points with Chelsea, who are in sixth. But Villa has played one more than Chelsea,
and we have the goal difference.
Right. So what stands out for you in the race for the Champions League?
I think it has to be Nottingham Forest, because it's not that they have to stay in third or fourth now, right? Fifth place is confirmed as another spot for Champions League place. So they have a little bit of wiggle room here.
But let's be clear.
And that's generous, because they're only 3 points ahead of sixth place, which would knock them down into the Europa League, which would still be massive for them.
I was going to say,
can they stay in these Champions League spots?
If we were talking about a season where they were sitting at seventh and they snuck into sixth, we'd be going, what a crazy, awesome, good year for them. So, look, it's Newcastle below them. I think Nottingham can hold on to this, because Newcastle is still wildly inconsistent. Not far. Nottingham doesn't win them all, but I would say they are more consistent than
Rod, do you have there
Newcastle.
what Nottingham's next few games are?
Yep. So on the 1st of May, so FA Cup on April 27th, they play Man City.
Come on, baby. Come on.
I know, right? They're in the semis together. Forest plays Brentford on May 1st, Crystal Palace on May 5th, Leicester City on the 11th, West Ham on the 18th, and Chelsea on the 25th.
What a favorable,
Right. They might
favorable
have a chance there. Yeah.
They could totally do it.
That Chelsea last game could be huge, especially if the spots are the same way that they are right now.
Yeah,
it could be massively huge, because to Ron's point earlier, they have the superior goal difference by 4 points, and by 4 goals, and they're only 3 points below Nottingham at this time, both on 33 games.
Could be a wild end of the season.
Look, dude, I think most clubs would love this final run. That's a good run. That's a win, you know.
And to be honest, the way Man City is playing, it is a winnable fixture.
So, for sure, for the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that I only say that because the morale moving into having beaten the former champs going into the season, into the last stretch of the season against Brentford, Crystal Palace, Leicester City, West Ham. I think your hardest game in that last 5 run is Brentford.
But I think it really said something.
Where's it at, though?
For Man City when it's like
it's at Forest.
That helps them.
Yep. But I think it's really something when you say for Man City, you're like, oh, they beat Villa. Like that's the reaction. Like I don't. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark, and it's not just old hoodies from Pep. Like there's a. I know he's like, we're not good right now, and just we're not. But I'm like, God, man, yeah, but that is like, you still have so many of the same players, and what is up there? I mean, if I had to bet, I'd put the money on Nottingham right now. I think it's a more fun run. At Chelsea, God, I mean, Chelsea or not, I don't care. Chelsea or Newcastle, get up there. Aston Villa, get Man City out of there entirely.
Like, I know, right?
That would be amazing. Just come on, Chelsea and Newcastle, Villa, just make a run.
Yeah.
Squeeze them out. Come on.
Nottingham, just everybody push them out to 7th or 8th.
Yeah. Oh, please. I'll be honest, I don't like shoe fly pie. As a beer, this is awesome. This is delicious. It ain't no cookie puss. This is very good. This is a good beer. Let's see. Now we'll move on to the rest of Premier League for match week 33 and a little of match week 34 as we ask one question and make a smart ass comment on the remaining matches in our 2-minute drill. First up, Ferris on the clock.
Brentford blitz Brighton as they put 4 past the Seagulls, whose frustrations got the better of forward draw Pedro as he saw red in the 61st. Man, Brentford at home at the G-Tech is just a different team. They just seem to just score and just blitz teams every time they're at home. It is wild. I'm sure there's a stat out there where that showed like how many more they've scored in one at home or over away. I don't necessarily have that at hand, but they're just nasty at home. Actually, I do have that at home. Right. They would be 8th right now if it was just on home form. They have a +5 at home and 28 points from home this season alone.
As a kid who grew up in North Carolina watching ACC stuff, every time I hear the G-Tech, it weirds me out every time in Premier League.
It's funny that you say that though, because Brentford remind me of like an ACC team, like where they're throwing, they're quick, they get forward, their forwards get forward, they push it. You know, it's a very I don't want to say like run and guns type style, but it's funny, and the stadium's massive. I didn't get a chance to go to it, but when when Phil and I were over there a few years back, we're driving to Heathrow, and we drove past it. It's more massive than you think it is from seeing it on TV. And it looks like an awesome stadium, but man, they're just good at home.
You ain't wrong about that. Now, over to the good old Bournemouth, out by the sea. Enjoy the beach. Bournemouth, though, they could not gain ground in the top 7, despite being up a man the whole second half, as Crystal Palace kept the score 0-0 at Selhurst Park. Bournemouth are now 10 points off top 5. Can they make it? Short answer is no. No.
I agree.
It's whatever. They just don't quite have the juice. I mean, that being said, look, Bournemouth sitting in 8th, it's a good season. It's and that between 9, between 10th and 8th, I think if you said last year, they need to build on it. But whatever momentum they had kind of going, I don't know. They do not have any sort of consistency in front of them. They do play Man United next.
That's an easy 7-0 win.
Is it though? But either way, that's the problem. Like flip of the coin, right?
I'm not calling it a flip of a coin. That's you. The coin's already flipped, and then the game's over.
It's a momentum building occasion for the Cherries.
Now, Oh, should we talk about Crystal Palace though? Are they on an ascendancy? They managed to draw against Arsenal today. They don't have many draws against them historically. They typically tend to lose. And then they take on Bournemouth. Is Crystal Palace having its turnaround that they could ride into next season?
Well, here's the thing, though. If you remember, flashback to last year, started off poor, switched, managers were banging in goals and doing very well at the end of the season. This season, pretty much the same, but they've kept the same manager the entire time. So I don't know if it's a momentum builder for them, but to end the season strong seems like it always gives them an extra boost going into the off season, where they might be able to snag a few signings here and there.
Build on it, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely on the upward trend. I mean, look at what a great defensive effort they put in over that, entire second half of the match to.
Yeah, but you say that, but there are 3 draws in a row right now, and 2 losses before that. So they're a solid team. They're in 12th. They are like your proper mid-table team. That is dangerous if you take them for any sort of, granted at all.
West Ham and Mr. Graham Potter remain winless in 6 as they give up a 93rd minute goal to the already relegated Southampton, who narrowly avoid the worst ever points total in Premier League history by 1
Uno
at the moment. So, Southampton are down. That's not a surprise. What do we think of the, some would call it unnecessarily harsh post-match criticism by the West Ham striker Nicholas Fulkrug?
I love it.
I mean, I kind of thought it was good. I thought it was good. Somebody needs to be a leader in that team. They're kind of rudderless. And so he's going to stir the pot and try and wake some people up.
I don't know if he's the one to do it in the squad, because he's only played a handful of games. He's been injured for a majority of them, and he's only come back in the past few games. But he's a big German lad, and he was quoted as it's saying, and I'll just take kind of parts of it, but it's a mindset problem. I'm very angry today. I'm not disappointed, just angry for the goal. I'm very, very angry. He kept hitting that. We showed that we have good possession, but that we can go in behind and that we have the chances to score again. But the motivation, I'm very angry.
I mean, look, if no one else is going to stick up and kind of stir a little pot and get a bit of emotions up and some passion going, I mean, Graham Potter is not that person. Right? Graham Potter, as we saw all of his time in Chelsea, all of his time at Brighton and Hove, right? Like, he's more like just kind of the nice guy. Please put the ball in the back of the net. Please clean your cleats before you go into the locker room.
I don't know. I mean, I think Graham Potter somewhere else could maybe do a little bit better. I mean, like,
I just mean that he's not the type to come at the players and stir up some passion, stir up some results.
Yeah, he certainly doesn't seem like he's that type. We're not in the locker room with him, we don't know. But listen, it's not, full crew hammered into him, but talked about the game as, they're saying they have good possessions, they created chances to score, we try to score, we can't, defend very deep. Like, he's breaking it down from a tactical way as well, which is, to your point, Ron, what you probably want Potter in the locker room to say, that we did certain things well, but for the vast majority of it, we were absolute crap.
But
or for how we responded going down, we were crap. For how we didn't do certain things, we were crap. And that's not acceptable in this team for where we're trying to go and what we're trying to do.
I think if you're going to look at the West Ham scoring stats, he should shut up, though. like
Well, and he hasn't helped because, like I said, he's been injured. And
Yeah.
he hasn't
Yeah,
really
he's
banged
been
in a
injured
whole lot
quite
of
a
goals
bit.
this season. And I
But-
like him, but he's not.
You know,
hasn't been good.
looking at the team, they just don't have. Burn it all down
No.
and start over.
No.
That's
Yeah.
kind of where they are.
No.
You know, like they just don't.
You're absolutely correct there, Blake.
That's
Yeah,
where, like
they
with
don't.
Potter, I'm like, I would not can Potter unless he came to you and said, just give me the team you got and add a player or two. Then I would can him. But I like right now with what he's got, I don't think any manager does well here.
A second half free kick by just subbed on Pablo Sanabria was enough to add more league misery to Manchester United as Wolves does the first league double over United since 1979-1980. Wolves have rattled off 5 straight wins while United haven't won in the league in 4, and they are now tied on points with 38 each. Wolves and Man United tied on points. Wolves have had a horrible season. That just tells you what kind of season Man United have had.
And
I mean, there's really nothing else to say.
You're right. I mean, if you want any sort of tactical breakdown from this, United created chances. I mean, they bossed the game for the first half. They had chances. We are just allergic to scoring.
fair.
Rasmus-
Okay, so like
Rasmus Højlund couldn't buy a goal if he was standing in the center of the net.
I know this is a question.
And goal line actually put him inside of the goal and said that he still couldn't score.
I
Like,
know
it's that bad.
I know this is a question that's more for like the wrap up at the end, but like it can't.
No,
Ten Hag can't, right?
Whatever you're. No, yes.
It's got to be someone new, right? Do you think they'll just start over, or are they going to keep
No,
Ten Hag?
no, you can't start over. You can't start over.
There's no way you get rid of Amarin.
You can't.
now.
You can't.
I mean, not Scott. I said Ten Hag. Sorry, that's not what I
Yes, you
meant to
did. But I knew where you're going. No,
Amarin, yeah.
yes, I knew where you're going. In the instance, no, you don't. You can't. You can't keep. You know what the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. We've done it for the past 7 years.
But I was gonna say
10 years.
You know who your owners are, though. So yes, you shouldn't.
Yes, we do. But also, whatever he's called, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his Ineos group have not been there for more or a little over a year now, right? Because it was like last December or something. So you got to give them a little bit of time for what they're doing on the football operation of things. I think Amarin was the best choice out there, especially on a mid-season draw to pull him away from Portugal. Now, but he doesn't have the players to implement a system that he wants to play, and he's very stuck in it, like somebody down south that coaches for Tottenham, very stuck in the way that they play, right?
Crikey, who are you talking about?
If you don't have the players to play that way, you're playing, which he doesn't right now. You're going to have some issue. And he's stubborn in the fact that he's going to stick with that and hammer that in. Not just pack the midfield, put all 5 at the back, and just hammer out results as best you can by just defending. He's not going to do that. And to a degree, it's refreshing to see. Frustrating as all hell because we've just sieved goals just left and right. But at the same point, you could see the small. I mean, like you need like the world's strongest telescope, microscope, everything combined into one to see what he's trying to do right now. But you got to give him a chance to do it. You got to give him at least a summer. You haven't even given him a summer yet.
And you have to think that he has players from 6 managers ago.
Victor Lindelof was the captain at back of this in this game. Victor Lindelof. Love me some Lindelof. He should have left United 7 years ago when Jose was manager.
And I don't think you get rid of Amarin because even if you get someone new, they're in the same position.
Exactly.
It's nothing changes. It just kind of keeps.
Nope.
I will say, and I'm going to butcher your name, but real quick before I move on, they did give a debut to a good-looking center back for Frederick. I think was his name. For Fredrickson, Tyler Fredrickson, 20 years old at the back. He was the highest-rated player for United in the entire game. He had something like he won 50% of his tackle, 4 different clearances, 6 recoveries, 9 defensive actions, 12 duels won, only 3 lost. I mean, he had himself a heck of a game there in his back 3. To see him with a very young Harry Amass, who's only 18 years old out there on the left, some signs that there's some young talent coming up that maybe can play the way that this particular Man United manager at this time can play.
And that center back had a higher XG than anyone else on the team.
100%. The Harry Maguire's our striker, baby, and he didn't even play. We had to sit him because we need him to play up front here coming up.
Hilarious. I love it.
Sometimes I gotta let them go a little over 2 minutes for Ferris. All right, and finally, just today, Gunners took on the Crystal Palace, and while Kiwior scored early, it was Jean-Philippe Mateta in the 83rd with a long chip on the Raya, following a Saliba mistake, which drew the match honors even at 2 apiece. To quote my favorite social media handle, which is Poorly Drawn Arsenal, he just tweeted, or whatever you do in Blue Sky, poorly drawn Arsenal.
Funny.
And I was like, well, you win today. That is correct.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, look, give me Saliba any day. He effed up and it led to a goal 99% of the time. He doesn't. So
look,
yeah.
As long as you're pretty much safe in the second spot, right? And so all thrusters have to be pointed toward Champions League right now, not
think,
the Premier League.
And
right?
I don't, to be honest with you, I don't think that third even matters, second or third. It's the same spot. You still get into Champions League. Yeah. You're pretty much safe in the top 4 spots. That's what's most, at this point, you're not going to catch the top spot. So you're pretty much safe in those top 4 spots. And Ron's right. We'll get to that here in a bit, but you're all guns are pointed towards the semifinals.
If you're moving forward, if you come in second, it looks like you've got the potential to do better next year. If you make a strong run of the Champions League,
but it doesn't though.
It makes it easier.
Not for Arsenal, it doesn't. They've gotten in second 2 years in a row.
Yeah, but
they
this
haven't
year
gotten over that line.
I'll say this: it's awesome that they've stayed where they are in second with the injuries. Last year it was they have not dealt with injuries. They have not. Right, that could be the thing. Like they're doing so good, they're so consistent, but they haven't dealt with injuries. This year
they've held off Nottingham Forest all season. Say that sentence out loud. That doesn't make sense in the modern game.
Oh no, but Forest held off everybody. But yeah, like this season, you've got they had a bunch of injuries and they held in the second. I'm like, well, it's better than I would have thought. If you'd have told me the injuries they were going to deal with, I'd have been like, ugh, we'll be fighting to stay in the Champions League. I also would not have picked that Forest would have been solidly in that place. Yeah, I mean, that is kind of what it is. That's where that's at. Champions League though, baby. Whoo, you best believe I got a brand new Saka jersey hanging up in my closet because they did a big sale right after that Champions League game victory. They were like free names and 40% off end of the season. Like, thank you. I need to snag me some stuff.
Hey Blake, I have a question about the kit. You said it was a Saka kit?
Yes. Yeah.
Does it fall off the hanger a lot and spend a lot of time on the floor?
No. As a matter of fact, you know what it does? It comes back from injury and scores a beautiful goal immediately the second they get put back in the game. In such a way that you would dream of having that player on either one of your teams. You would dream of it.
I love it, Ron.
You would dream of it.
Yes.
Ron can't say crap.
The court rules that's a good joke.
Ron for years cheered on Diego Costa. He can say nothing.
That isn't.
But he can make fun of Diego Costa.
Hold on. I am very much on the record saying I don't like Diego Costa. I don't like his style of play. I don't like that he has to, punch people in the back of the head to, do that big a dark arts.
Bush League player.
You got me mistaken, man. Go back and listen to the archive. I was never a Diego Costa person.
I'm pretty sure he was a Skirtle fan too. I don't know. Like, it was,
don't you get me started on Skirtle. Don't you get me started on Skirtle. like whenever
God.
Tony and I talk, and we'll get into a conversation or argument, all he has to say is 2 words. It's either Skirtle or Brad Marchand. And I'm like, where this conversation's going a completely different route.
I just gotta.
God, I hate him.
I miss I just miss Skirtles and Mourinho's and folks like Costas, people like that in there to freaking
The gigantic personalities.
yeah.
We're missing some of them,
causing so many troubles. I know.
Speaking of which, did you see that Mourinho? What did he do recently? They got him suspended. He grabbed somebody's butt, or he did something. Neck, the back of the neck in a game.
He pulled a Bobby Knight.
God, bring him here to the MLS. It would make our league 10 times better.
And did you guys see the when he was at Tottenham? I sent you guys a video of him in a video films, like, they're analyzing tape of the game, and he is talking about, you got to pass the ball faster, you can't be lazy, and he says, you're all very nice people, you're all very good gentlemen, and I would trust you with my daughters, but when you were playing for the 90 minutes, you have to be a complete bunch of
Yes. God, they'll see you next Tuesdays. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Smart.
So bring him to the MLS, please.
Heck
I know.
yeah.
God.
Absolutely.
Oh, I didn't tell you guys that I sent Jose that Chat GPT thing about his wine.
Oh, you did?
And 2 days ago, a representative reached back out to me and asked me for my address.
Yes.
Ron, if you
are you
get
serious? No, you are not serious right now. Are you?
If you
Totes.
get Jose wine for that fire we were talking about, that's what we're having around that fire. It'll be wine night. Are you? Oh my God.
That's all they wrote.
Oh,
thank you for your feedback.
If you pull this off, the show probably ends after that
shit
episode.
in before the tariffs.
Yeah,
I know, right?
That would be the last episode of the show. How do we top that?
Wait. That's the fireside.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Pod.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now I have no idea when to expect. If, like, I have no idea anything. They just said thank you for. I'll I don't have the email in front of me, but I'll send you the guys the email so you can see what they
massive
wrote.
pod news.
But that was so great. I forgot to tell you guys I even sent it.
You said you were going to. Yeah. Oh, that's delightful. Well, that's a good segue. Let's roll us into Ron's financial fair play news. And Ron's.
No, let's talk wine. Ron's wine news.
Oh, I hope a bottle of it just shows
something.
up.
Oh dear God.
I hope so.
That'd be amazing.
Oh, it'd be incredible. All right, gentlemen, in the world of finances, there's a term that I would like to introduce you to if you've never heard of it before, and that is creative accounting.
Oh, familiar with that term.
Or Clear Lake accounting.
Since May of 22, which is when Clear Lake Capital and Todd Bowley bought the club, they have had a very interesting vision for Chelsea Football Club and the entire entity, the real estate, the women's team, the hotels, the restaurants, the right. So the figures for 23-24 released on Saturday morning confirm, last Saturday, confirm that Chelsea valued their women's football team at £200 million. That's 258 million US when they were selling it to Blueco 22 Midco Limited, which is a company that falls within the club's broader legal structure, right? So a company under a company under a company kind of thing. It is, if the valuation goes through by the Premier League and the WSL, it will be the most expensive women's team on the planet? Gentlemen, do you know who the second most expensive women's team on the planet was or is?
Leon.
No.
That's a good guess. Okay.
Barcelona.
Nope.
Oh, I know. It was they were just sold. Angel City.
Yes.
Bingo. Angel City FC for $250 million to Disney CEO Bob Iger and his wife. So that the Angel City FC was the record. Chelsea blew it away by, a little bit more money, $8 million essentially. And the $198.7 million profit that they generated from that sale enabled them to post a pre-tax profit of $128 million for the year that ends June 30th, 2024, and meant they complied with the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules. Because you are allowed to essentially, in the Premier League, if you sell assets, you are able to put that against your losses, right? And so that means, since you're selling all these different things, you now have the ability to spend more money. So again, this is all being assessed by the Premier League for making sure that the team was given a fair market value. And I think that's probably pretty close. Because in all honesty, I mean, aside from Barcelona, there's not a more winning team going on right now. The only trophy Chelsea is not women's team has not won is Champions League, and which, if you're following that at all, Barcelona just shellacked them in Spain 3-0. So the second leg is at Stamford Bridge, and so hopefully we come out of that to move on. So all of this is essentially to talk about the massive amount of creative accounting that teams are all doing. Chelsea's just happens to be, Chelsea and Man City happen to be, high on the list because of the exorbitant amount of money that they've spent on players. Received, they have made $255 million off player sales very quietly. No one really pays attention to that. So over this 3-year PSR cycle that goes from 2022 to 2024, they are doing incredibly well because they are only posting an $83.1 million loss, which is under the $105 million PSR loss limit, as Blake mentioned kind of earlier when we were talking about Leicester City. So the fact that they sold hotels, they sold players, and they sold the women's team basically made up for almost a $400 million deficit, which is against the league's PSR rules over the 3-year period, right? So if Chelsea did not sell the hotels, sell players, sell the women's team, they'd be in the hole a whole bunch of money.
Okay, but
it's like,
but they sold it to companies owned by them.
So the thing is, it's a really smart loophole, right? Similar to what Leicester did and won when they said, the Premier League's jurisdiction doesn't count for us because we were relegated at the time. You asked us to turn this in, and we don't have to. There is not, from a Premier League standpoint, whatever company is holding those assets and sells them, if they are the same as the football team holdings, it counts.
Okay, but
now the dangerous thing is that you're going to run out of stuff to sell eventually.
Well, that's what I was going to say, though. none of this matters when you've spent that much money and your team is as inconsistent as it is. Not your team, you know what I'm saying, Ron? But you know, the crazy money from Mudryk and stuff like that, who that's kind of out of term of bust. Like, so you now are, because you can't sell more. How much more can you acquire, and you're back in the same boat? And is the team any better? I mean, this is, I mean, I feel like they're at a spot where, like, well, we did this, that got us over this hump, but I don't know about what next.
So now so if they didn't sell those things, they would be in a $358.3 million loss,
That'd
right?
be a problem.
Which is more than 3 times over the limit for the Premier League.
Right.
So in my opinion, what this allows Chelsea to do is it allows them to re-baseline their finances and make money off of the sale of players and smartly bring in others, right? Chelsea's been very busy in the summer transfer market already, bringing in very strategic people for lower wage bills, amortized over the Premier League now limit of 5 years, right? So they're wisening up, or this was their crazy like a fox plan the whole time. We obviously won't know that, but this gives them the ability to have a clean bill of health from the Premier League, and then essentially kind of start in a neutral territory. However, this does not pass the muster when it comes to UEFA. So UEFA takes a different approach from the Premier League. European football's governing body does not allow for the sale of tangible assets to sister companies to count toward financial fair play calculations. So therefore, Chelsea is going to pay a nice fine to UEFA after they calculate the exact amount of spending breach.
But they're not prevented from playing in any UEFA competition. They just get fined, like being over the salary cap here in the States. If you're over salary cap in like MLB, you pay a tax and that sort of thing.
Right. So this is kind of a very creative way to get yourself or get the Blues out of quite a sticky predicament when you spent 3 transfer windows spending a staggering $600 billion in players and, you know, all kinds of other things. So while it looks super shady and probably is in some way a bit more shady in places than others, they exploited a loophole. They sold off assets, and from a Premier League standpoint, they're good. UEFA is going to smack them on the wrist like they did with the Roman Abramovich information that we self-volunteered, and we're going to pay a fine and move on. So,
but what's next? What does move on mean? That's
correct. So, you know, Chelsea is actually doing really good at making money, aside from the fact that they have lost European football, right? So their broadcast income fell 28%, but their gate receipts are increased from to almost 80.1 million pounds. They have a massive commercial income of almost 225 million pounds. So they're not actually doing bad. It's just the overspend from the past couple of transfer windows that they need to get right. And it looks like this is the vehicle to do it. And then they can get on a more stable platform.
If only they could beat out Nottingham Forest to get into the Champions League.
I don't have high hopes for that
Huh.
one. I happen to think from a on the field standpoint that the more we play the Maresca style ball, the worse we are, because we don't actually have the players to play his style. In the beginning of the season, we were playing quick, crazy, counterattacking football and doing really well. I don't think Chelsea understands the definition of counterattack right now.
No.
It's all this slow passing the ball, build up out of the back, lull your opponents to sleep, and then try and score. And that's not working out so well. Also, no one, the world has never seen a Maresca coach year number 2. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in Chelsea year 2.
God, that's
I hope he quits Chelsea, goes to Leicester City when they go down, gets them back up, quits Leicester, comes back to Chelsea,
Hilarious.
after
and then
he's
buys a
taken
hotel
over.
from them because they need to sell off more assets. Then he stays in the hotel, throws a massive party.
Well, he
collects
comes
a lot
back to
more
Chelsea
money.
to replace interim Graham Potter, who's back for a second time, but just as an interim.
Mm-hmm. And then Jose Mourinho and his career comes back. And then
Jose Mourinho, gentlemen, looks like is headed to Celtic. That's the big, or not Celtic. Sorry, the Rangers. Sorry,
That's
not
cool.
not Celtic. Not Celtic.
Oh my God, that would put Scottish
To the Rangers.
football. To
Not-
the Rangers?
yes,
no, he's not that kind of villain, is he?
That's the rumor right now. When I was looking at some Mourinho stuff, I was like, oh, that's an interesting one.
No.
Yeah, after he had a good flare up in the news recently. But
So
yeah,
one last thing to look out for in the financial corner is my prediction. Write it down. My prediction is within 3 years, the hotels and the women's team end up back under the
And
larger
then
umbrella.
all 20 teams will meet again, and they'll change that loophole like they just did for Leicester.
I
Yeah,
can see both of those things happening.
The problem is that too many teams exploit that stuff. So I don't know that they'll close that loophole. Because again, all the teams have to vote on it. And that is a massive way to bring capital into your football
the
club
trick is
when you need it.
they just need to wait and do that whenever news breaks about Man City finally, and they go through that. Then just do it under the radar. Just do it right there.
Under the back page, just
Yeah,
zing.
do it right then.
Just sneak it past the goalie.
Yeah. And there you go. There's some crazy financial creative accounting for you.
Jeez, man. Yeah, forget the creative footy. That's just creative. That's bonkers. Well, let's move us over to the UEFA League roundup. It still gets a whip crack.
Can you bring us back in the game, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Halftime whistle. Sorry. Got to blow the halftime whistle.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can't start the second half until the whistle's done. From one financials to the next, Champions League is all set. Semifinals, I believe, this coming week, if I'm not mistaken, this Tuesday and Wednesday, which I'm actually off for the next week, so I get to watch those games. But they are set, and in the semifinals, you have one Arsenal against one PSG. And then on the other side, you have Barcelona and Inter Milan. Those are a heck of a semifinals match. How we got there, though, was even more insane because we'll start off mainly with, listen to this aggregate score. Arsenal 5, Real Madrid 1.
Beautiful.
Wild.
Just beautiful.
They scored, 3 goals, Blake, in the first game?
Yes.
A 3-0 win?
Yeah.
The best part of this entire tie, though, was there was somebody that put out a tweet that on the return leg from going to Real Madrid and the Santiago Bernabeu, that Real Madrid would have this comeback. It's a very Real Madrid thing. They're going to win it. And then they made an announcement a day or two before that was like, oh, we're going to close the roof on the stadium. And somebody tweeted out, rice cooks best when the top's closed. It was something along those lines. Like, that is brilliant.
Oh, my Lord. That's
Brilliant.
delightful.
But they weren't the only English team to put up a hell of a fight. Aston Villa did not advance, but 5-4, they lost to PSG on aggregate. And they did everything they could that second game, man. It was 3-1 to Paris in the first game, and then it was 3-2 to Villa in the second game. A lot of goals scored. Villa threw everything at it that they could, just couldn't quite get across the line. PSG, we joke about the league a lot, but PSG, without some of their big stars that they've had in years past, your David Beckhams, your Zlatans, your Messi, so on and so forth, they don't really have a notable name there that most soccer fans, just kind of go to. But they have strong players, and they are a pretty damn good team this year. And barely got by Aston Villa that did. So Arsenal and PSG go head to head here coming up. 29th is what, this Wednesday? Tuesday? This Tuesday in the first leg.
Yeah, the 29th, yes.
Yep. Should be a hell of a tie. Hell of a tie there. And then in the other side, Dortmund just got whopped by, a 5-3 aggregate to Barca doesn't quite explain it as best as it does, because Barca came out and just 4-0 them in the first game. Dortmund won the second game 3-1, but the tie was done. Remember, there's no away goals, so it's just straight goals. And then a good tie here, probably the best of the round when you come into competition, was Bayern versus Inter. Inter won 2-1 on the first leg, and they tied 2-2 in the second leg. So really, really close and tight there. Two just strategic teams that can score with force, but are very solid in the midfield and make it hard for teams to break them down.
But the biggest stat is only one of them has Harry Kane.
This is fair, but I'm excited. I'm not excited because I want Dortmund to win, but he might win his first trophy with the Bundesliga title.
That's true.
But that is your UEFA Champions League semifinals. The champions. Pop on over to the Europa League, and it's been equally as interesting. I won't say equally as good because the level of play is not quite there, but Tottenham advanced 2-1, a narrow advance over Frankfurt from Germany, which are a good team and are having a good season over there in Germany. And they will take on not Lazio, because Lazio was beat. They're 3-3 on aggregate, but they were beat 3-2 in a penalty kicks by Bodo Glimt. You asked where Bodo Glimt is, gentlemen?
I do. Norway. All right.
Norway. So Tottenham taking on Bodo Glimt in Norway in the one leg. And then Athletic Club beat Rangers 2-0 on aggregate. It was 0-0 in the first game, and then it was 2-0 in the second leg. The final is being played in the Atletico area for the season, so they advance. They will take on Man United. Probably the tie of the semifinals.
This is wild. Like if there were a final between Man United and Spurs for the Europa,
yes.
That's insane.
It could be, but this was even wild.
16 and 15 playing for
yes.
the Europa League title. That's hilarious.
For the chance to go to the Champions League, wild. But this tie was wild. Man United cruising in the first leg, up. Was it 2-0 or it was it was like 1-1, 1-0.
Most exciting game of the entire year.
Yes,
so far.
That was the second leg. First leg, they ended up drawing 2-2. Andre Onana had a horrible game, responsible for both their goals. So they go in tied. Games at Old Trafford. Second leg, United cruising in the first half, 2-0 up. Like, where has this United been all freaking season? But in United style, they give up 2 goals in 10 minutes to tie it up 2-2. 10 minutes later, a guy for Lyon is sent off. They're playing with a man down, and United at home with 10 minutes to go with a man up. It goes to extra time. They don't get the goal, 2-2. So you're like, okay, got to play this entire extra time, 2 15-minute halves with a man up the entire time. And what happens? United concede 2 goals and go down 4-2 in extra time. A goal in the first half of extra play, a goal in the second half of extra play via a pen. So United's 4-2 down, looking like they're going to bust out of the tournament, worst ever season, no chance of anything. This is the only thing they got going for them. It's like the what time was that, or what minute was the? Because I want to make sure that I'm saying like the correct timeline here. That goal was scored 110th minute. So so the 110th minute. So there was 2 goals in the first half of that extra time, because it goes from 95 to 1. No, where does it go? Sorry, it goes 90 to 105. So there was 1 goal. That was the Churchy goal, and then 110 or 105 to 120. Lacazette in the second time with 10 minutes to play made it 4-2. 4 minutes later, a penalty is awarded to Man United. Bruno Fernandes steps up, makes it. At this point, it is 4-3 on the game. Still 6-4. No, I'm sorry, 6-5 on aggregate. 120 minutes. You can only play 120 minutes. Kobe Minu, the best striker we have in the damn team in midfield, with a glorious, calm shot, evens it up. Game's now tied 4 apiece, 6-6 on aggregate in the 120th. Like, all right, this is for sure now going to pens. How United have even been up 2 goals, then down 2 goals, now tied it up 2 goals later, to then United come back down, and the number 1 striker in all of the world, in all of the land, and I was so happy for him, Harry Maguire, straight Jordan style, points to the air, like, throw that bitch up, and Casemiro, just beautiful cross, puts it on Maguire's big-ass, meaty forehead, and he nails that bad boy right into the side netting and peels off. And I get chills thinking about it. Like, we've had a bang-on season, but my God, 121st minute of the match, Harry Maguire has scored more goals than any of our strikers, wingers, anybody has in the past 4 or 5 games. The game-winning goal. They win 5-4 on the night, 7-6 on aggregate, and United take on Athletic Club, the probably the best of the other 3 teams alive, for their season to cling on to whatever life they have going. If you have not seen it, go to the extended highlights on YouTube and just watch the madness and cure. It is absolutely wild. This is the Man United season, almost encapsulated in the game. Wild. Roller coaster, up and down, you name it. I get tired even just talking about it.
The whole thing was just incredible to watch.
It was bonkers. Like, at one point, this is going exactly like I expected to go, and then, wait, what? And now we could have a Spurs Man United final.
One could hope. But again, the Spurs take on Bodo Glimt, and Man United take on Athletic Club. Spurs should get through. United's it's probably going to be extremely tough.
Should Spurs get through? Why?
The
consistency?
No, I think if they patch a game together, all they got to do is patch one game together, and they could put a few goals past them. They have the threat on the offensive side to really put pressure on the back line of Bodo Glimt. And then if Van der Weer and Romero are fit, that back line for Spurs at least looks a little bit better. It's the midfield that I question with Spurs on whether or not they get games. I think that's consistency where it's fallen for them, because they have talent on the offensive side. They have talent on the defensive side. But in the midfield, can you name me a Spurs midfielder? I can't.
Bentancur and Madison.
Okay. Madison's been hurt half the damn year, and Bentancur was suspended for telling one of his teammates that, no, that's true. That's fair.
You should have qualified.
You didn't say that.
Yeah, that's fair.
You should. Could you qualify a one that's useful?
And I would say Bentancur is the real midfielder. Madison's more of a attacking midfielder, but yeah, he's a midfielder. Anyways, so we'll see. Both of those semifinal games take place on that Thursday, the 1st. And then our last European league, the Europa Conference League. Yeah, we have not forgotten about you. The semifinals are all set there as Real Betis will take on Florentina on May 1st as well. Real Betis, who's been kind of they've been firing since they've signed Man United star Anthony.
Right?
I can't say that with a straight face, but he's been doing great for them. Fiorentina beat, I'm going to butcher this name, Salih, and Real Betis beat Jagiellonia.
Yes.
Butcher both those names. Yes. Yeah, correct. Chelsea beat Legia Warsaw, which we've heard of and we know. They beat them 3-0 in the first leg, but lost 2-1 in the second leg, but still advanced 4-2 on aggregate. And then they'll take on Djurgården, as Djurgården beat SK Rapid 4-2 on aggregate.
Is Djurgården the? I thought that was a little salad dressing.
Oh, is that not like the wine that Jose's gonna send over? Djurgården. But those games will take place on May 1st in the Europa Conference League. So here's the weird scenario. I think if it's Champions League could have like 6 English teams in it next year, right? 5 of them with automatic into the league places. If Tottenham or Man United win Europa League, there's your 6th team into Champions League place. And then Europa League could have 2 people, whoever finishes 6th, and then whoever, if Chelsea win the Europa League but don't make the top 4, you can have somebody else in.
Couldn't it be one more though?
It can be somewhere else. Yes.
If Arsenal wins Champions League,
yes,
Well,
they're automatically in the bid. So their space in the Premier League may
think you're right.
may have to go to another team.
You might be right. Yeah, so there could be like 7 teams in the Champions League?
I think that's true.
I think you might be right on that. Anyways, that's Europe. And your UEFA La Liga's roundup.
Oh, sorry. It's not you. It's not the La Liga's roundup. My ear wasn't ready to do it.
Well, because it's the UEFA Liga's roundup.
Yeah, we'll definitely need a new sound effect for that one. Man, what a wild year. Europe here is wrapping up to be quite fun and interesting. I did not. Arsenal making the run here at the end, and I mean Man United and Spurs. It's so weird to look at what's going in the Premier League and then see what's happening elsewhere. It's so bizarre to me. So bizarre. Our beer mentions of this pod as we wrap this up. I have my shoe fly pie, which was quite good porter from Lancaster Brewing.
I had a pod, oldie but a goodie, a Reef Donkey by Tampa Bay Brewing Company in Tampa, Florida.
By Elysian Brewing Company in Seattle, Washington, I had the Hazy 96 Hazy IPA.
Love it.
Ferris, you got us as a Latan quote who started to bring this in. If you want to look that up, I will say, do us a favor. Follow us on the socials, the Untapped, all that jazz. Leave us a review on the Apple Podcatcher or however you listen to us and let us know. So, So, all right, Ferris, get us as a tan quote to set us up to go home.
We've talked about him on the pod, but Zlatan is quoted as saying, Jose Mourinho is a big star. He's cool.
Love it.
Man, gotta be honest. If I'm Jose, I just would retire at that point. If that was said about, if Zlatan said that about me.
I have that like framed over my bed. Like,
if Zlatan said that about Ferris, we'd just be like, Ferris, what are you doing? Ferris be taking off his hat, throwing out. It's like, I'm I'm done. I'm walking out into the ocean. I'm going to
like,
disappear in a mist, and I'm done.
My life would be complete. To dap up the goat, number 8.
He would like the
or, no, I'm
rapture.
sorry, number 10, Marta.
He would just rapture, disappear, like nothing but his Zlatan.
And have a quote from Zlatan saying, "I'm cool." You end me right now. That would be euphoric.
Ferris would be vibrating so fast from happiness, he would just pop out of existence.
Yeah.
I would be gone. That would be extraordinary. I would have it tattooed on my arm.
You're going to have a good dream tonight. Well, I don't have a joke to wrap us up. I just have some house cleaning. Gents, I had to go through and change a bunch of passwords for our socials. I was trying to do something we could remember. So I put in Tottenham midfield, but it all came back as 2 week. So there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been the Brewtiful Game. Love the beer, cherish the game. The Brewtiful Game.